前アメリカ国家情報長官ジョン・ラトクリフ、中共国は本土上空で信じられないような情報収集作戦を成功させました。バイデン氏の中共国のスパイ気球への対応の失敗は、国家安全保障上のミスであり、計り知れない損害を与えました。バイデン氏は国家安全保障チームにいくつかの改革を加える必要があります。VTR をご覧ください。
Right now with a look at the Chinese Communist Party's effort to infiltrate America, including the surveillance balloon the CCP sent to breach America's sovereignty. The former director of national intelligence, once the top spy in America, John Ratcliffe. John, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start off and get your take on this week and this spy balloon. How do you see things?
Well, good morning, Maria. It's pretty easy and pretty clear. It should be to all Americans. This past week, unfortunately, the People's Republic of China executed an incredibly successful intelligence operation over the mainland of the United States. And conversely, the Biden administration committed an unprecedented national security blunder of incalculable damage. And I say that, Maria, because we know, the facts are very clear that America's number one adversary, the People's Republic of China, maneuvered a spy craft into U.S. airspace a week ago on Saturday, January 28th, and it didn't leave U.S. airspace until a week later, Saturday, February 4th. And except for the time that it was over Canada, it spent at least 4 days, at least 100 hours continuously over the continental United States in an intelligence operation, again, of incalculable damage, violating U.S. sovereignty of our airspace and our territorial borders in an unprecedented way that I'm not aware has ever happened in our history, Maria, and the Biden administration let that happen.
I want to ask you about that. It never happened in our history. But first, let me get your take on first China lying about what it was. They said it was a civilian airship. We both have spoken about China a long time. There's no civilian airship that can collect data, right?
Right. So military civil fusion laws mean that there is no civilian airship. This was a spy operation. It was deliberate. It was intentional. It was calculated to go over sensitive military sites, nuclear facilities, and critical infrastructure. There was nothing accidental about this. It was a deliberate campaign, and unfortunately, as we just talked about, incredibly successful for the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Republic of China.
I want to get your take on the response and also China's response, and zero in on what you know about potential previous breaches. You've seen more intelligence than anybody other than the president. John, the Biden administration is trying to minimize this explosive situation in this past week, and the Department of Defense is claiming that there were 3 balloons, Chinese spy balloons, that entered the United States airspace during the Trump administration, and that they were not shot down and they were not disclosed. Can you please tell us the truth and if that's true?
Well, it's not true. I can refute it. Former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper refuted it yesterday. Former Secretary of State and CIA Director Mike Pompeo has refuted it. But Maria, the American people can refute it for themselves. Do you remember during the Trump administration when photographers on the ground and commercial airline pilots were talking about a spy balloon over the United States that people could look up and see even with the naked eye, and that a media that hated Donald Trump wasn't reporting? I don't remember that either because it didn't happen. As I said to you earlier, this was unprecedented. We have never had a circumstance where an adversary has had spy craft over our country, our continental United States, posing a threat for the better part of a week straight. And that's why I said to you before, not only is it unprecedented, but the damage from this is incalculable, both from an intelligence standpoint and the possible payloads. You talked a little bit earlier about the different types of payloads that a stratospheric balloon could carry. Those possibilities are limited only by your imagination. But what we do know is none of those are possible to be deployed against the United States if a stratospheric balloon isn't allowed to traipse across our countryside for 4 straight days, something that has never happened before. But beyond that intelligence damage, Maria, the other thing is that the damage that it wasn't just 320 million Americans that were watching this balloon, paralyzed for a week. It was Russia. It was Iran. It was North Korea. It was American adversaries who also were surprised that this type of thing could happen and are frankly thrilled at the possibilities of what they could do to deploy the same type of stratospheric balloon or device over the continental mainland and have this kind of slow, weak, timid, late, frankly, terrible response by the